coaches not under contract. Right. 18 assistant coaches do not have contracts with the Cowboys for next season. So it looks like wholesale changes coming to Dallas and wholesale changes coming to the NFC East, with 3 teams in that division in line to have new head coaches for the 2020 season.
Well, you mentioned January 14th is the deadline for the contract for Jason Garrett. Even yesterday, after the loss, Jerry Jones didn't want to give much of a timetable in terms of what they were going to do internally. But from what you know how the market's going to look, does it behoove them to make this decision sooner or later if they want to get the head coach that they probably want?
Michael, here's what I think. The Dallas Cowboys are not racing anybody for a head coach. Josh McDaniels, the Patriots offensive coordinator, Matt Rule, the Baylor head coach, they're in play elsewhere. Dallas might have interest in those coaches. But the fact of the matter is, if Dallas wants to go get a college coach, or it wants to go get Dan Campbell from New Orleans, or wants to go get any coach, I think Jerry Jones feels like, I've got Jerry's World, I've got America's team, I've got a great roster. You'll want to come coach my team in this city for this great organization. I don't think they worry about competing for a head coach with anybody right now.
Doesn't seem like Jerry Jones is worried about such things. Adam, sit tight. We got a lot more teams to talk about, including right now, Zubin, what's going down in Washington.
No question about it, Michael, because Jason Garrett's status in the NFC East remains murky. Ron Rivera likely entering the hottest name on the market. Adam is reporting Rivera is expected to be named the Redskins coach, barring any unforeseen circumstances. He took the Panthers, as you know, to Super Bowl 50. He's got a great defensive background, but his success will lie in the fact making it work with Dwayne Haskins under center. Ron Rivera has won the NFL's Coach of the Year twice in his 9 seasons as an NFL leader. He's one of a dozen coaches to win the award multiple times in his career. 6 of the other 11 are in Canton. That's some pretty rarefied air. Our Redskins reporter John Keim joins us now from team headquarters the day after the regular season ended. Redskins locker room, probably an interesting place to be today. They weighed in on Rivera. What did they tell you when you were standing in there?
Well, Zubin, there was one player in particular who loves Ron Rivera, and that's cornerback Josh Norman. He played 4 seasons for Rivera in Carolina and had his best season under him in 2015 when the Panthers reached the Super Bowl. He explained why this would be such a good hire for the Redskins.
Get the best out of players. Simple as that. There's no, cut and dry short answer other than what I just gave you. He get the best out of players. And not just the players, but men. He builds men and guys that also builds character. It sets them up, not just for football, but for success in life.
Well, I've heard nothing but great things about him, as a coach, as a person. Got some friends that played down there in Carolina, and I've always said great things about him.
Well, Josh Norman told us during his little press gathering that there would be a night and day difference in the organization after this expected hire. As the gathering broke up, I asked Norman, what did you mean by that? He turned and said, you'll see it. One person who knows Rivera well said that he loves a challenge, which is good because, as one coaching agent told me, this is a job for the daring or the desperate.
John, one thing that needs to be determined is whether Josh Norman is going to be back to hang around with Ron Rivera. That's up in the air. And the next thing, getting that incredibly loyal fan base that has deteriorated back to epic levels. That's John Keim with the Redskins.
Well, Washington will have more than $48 million in cap space this season. Team also picking 2nd overall in April's draft. Washington's highest draft pick since taking Robert Griffin III 2nd overall back in 2012. Their 13 losses this season tied a team record. All right, Adam, so where do things currently stand? If the sides are this close, where does it stand?
They're just finalizing the contract, some of the language, how the organization will be run, the structure of it, whatever it may be. It's not going to be an issue. Ron Rivera went to Washington today with his wife Stephanie with the idea that he's going to be the next head coach of the Washington Redskins. They are expected to get a deal done. I don't think anything stands in the way. I think that there are major changes here in Washington. This organization is really revamping itself, bringing in Ron Rivera, getting rid of the team president of the past 10 years, Bruce Allen. These are major changes, and I think that there'll be a press conference this week at some point, probably tomorrow, to introduce Ron Rivera as the head coach of the Washington Redskins.
As we just heard from John Keim, he said a coaching agent told him this job is for either the daring or the desperate. So let me ask you this. Why did this job appeal to Ron Rivera maybe than another job, including one in the NFC East like the Giants, where he could be reunited with general manager Dave Gettleman?
Because I think everybody always thinks that they're going to be the one that can turn around a franchise. And the Redskins still are one of the more historic franchises in the nation's capital. There's still great tradition surrounding the franchise. And I'm sure that Ron Rivera, with the great characteristics and traits he has, believes that he can get this organization going right. Everybody always thinks that.
Yeah, every
until
coach
they
does.
go to some of these places that sink so many men. Now we'll see if Ron Rivera is strong enough and above that, or whether it brings him down like it's done to so many others.
Well, according to Josh Norman, Ron Rivera is exactly what that team needs right now. More from Adam in a second, but we got to keep it in the NFC East. We're talking about the Giants, right, Zubin?
No question about it. They're one of the most staid and stodgy organizations in football, but they've had a quick hook at their head coaches, whether it's Ben McAdoo or Pat Shurmur, fired after 2 seasons. Man, it's difficult. 9-23 record. They've got their quarterback, but who will be the guy that will lead them on Sundays? This is another short coaching tenure for Shurmur. You remember he was also the Browns head coach not too long ago. Shurmur was an offensive guy. Cut his teeth. Vikings 2017, that legendary offense that almost got to the Super Bowl. Well, under Pat Shurmur, the Giants ranked 20th in points per game. Personnel matters. Jersey Jordan Renan joins us from East Rutherford. Great to have you here. What do the Giants brass, led by Dave Gettleman, who apparently is staying on, have to say about the direction of the franchise?
Really, when you look at this franchise right now, the reason that Pat Shurmur is gone is because, look, they didn't win enough games, right? Ownership thought 100% that this team was going to have a better season.
I think we could have won more games, yes. Now, you know, you're playing a rookie quarterback, you're playing all those rookies on the back end on defense, you're going to have some problems. But again, we just at the end of the day didn't win enough games.
4-12, 5-11. Yeah, that's the reason Pat Shurmur is gone. And really, this is a decision that stretches back to October, November. It's been brewing for a while. You heard the whispers going on. Pat Shurmur essentially was done at that point when the Giants were in the midst of a 9-game losing streak. And it wasn't just losing to the New England Patriots of the world. They lost games to the Detroit Lions, the Jets, the Arizona Cardinals. Those were games that the Giants ownership thought they could win, even though their personnel might not have been superior. These are games that, if you're a coach, you can win these games. On the flip side, he didn't really have the personnel. And the Giants ownership did put Dave Gettleman on warning a little bit by saying, look, he has to hit on a higher batting average moving forward with his moves.
You don't see a Maritish press conference very often. It shows the severity of the situation for another team that desperately needs to turn it around. That's our Jordan Renan.
All right, Zubin, here's what Gettleman has to play with. Giants currently hold the 4th pick in the upcoming draft, projected $60 million in cap space, so the resources should be there to improve a team that has not been to the playoffs. Excuse me, they've only been just once since they won their last Super Bowl back in 2011. You know, Adam, the Giants were one of the more stable organizations in all of professional sports for a long time. For the last 5, 6, 7 years, a lot of turnover, the head coaching, and even now in the front office. So what more can you tell us about the decision to let go of Pat Shurmur, but to keep Dave Gettleman?
Well, this is a situation, I think, where the organization felt, right or wrong, that it had the talent to win more games than it did. It went and saw a team like the Miami Dolphins going upset the New England Patriots yesterday and wondered why we didn't see more games like that at this season from the New York Giants. And I think that they believe that Dave Gettleman has drafted some good players, and he did have the help and support of Pat Shurmur making some of those decisions as well. But I think that it didn't see a spark. It didn't see energy. It saw an empty stadium on many occasions. There were times when ownership left that game, another Giant loss, angry, dejected, annoyed. And I think usually that comes back to the head coach. It felt like it was the time to go a different direction. They had been doing background checks and other coaching candidates for a while now. And I think they felt like they can go get another head coach that would be an upgrade over Pat Shurmur. We'll find out whether or not they're right.
All right, so we talked about updating the personnel going into next season, but you just mentioned already looking at candidates. Where would that focus likely go if you're in New York?
There are a few different ways. They're going to interview, as Josina Anderson said this week, Chris Richard, the Cowboys defensive coordinator. Some of their first requests, I think, went out to Matt Rule, the Baylor head coach, Josh McDaniels, the Patriots offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy, the Chiefs offensive coordinator. I won't be surprised if their hire comes from those first 3 group of men. Bieniemy is somebody that other teams have looked at. Josh McDaniels is already in demand this year, and Matt Rule seems like he is going to get enough interest at the NFL level that he very well may leave Baylor. And I think if you look at Matt Rule, Tom Coughlin disciple, makes some sense too.
Yeah, a lot of decisions.